I got a 0.37 GPA. So it's like getting a Z instead of an F. One night he walks up to me and he asks me for a piece of bread. Why do I get all of this? And this kid has nothing. Learn about business and help as many towns like this as you possibly can.
Do you feel like scaling your business means endless chaos and burnout? What if the key to exponential growth is more than just hustle, but better systems built with genuine human understanding? Welcome to the Champion Mindset Collective podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Dahya. Today, we're talking about building businesses that not only grow, but thrive with systems that work for you, not against you. And we're going to do that with someone who has been quietly building, with the help of other amazing people and on his journey, the future long before most people even knew what to call it. This conversation is for every founder, every agency owner, every consultant who has achieved success but suspects that there is more intelligent and more sustainable way to build a legacy. My guest today is Jackson. How do you pronounce your last name?
Calame.
Calame. Okay, right. I'll start that bit again. My guest today is Jackson Calame, has been building intelligent systems for a long time, well before most people used the name AI. In 2010, he was part of Own Local. That was a Y Combinator startup that automated digital advertising for thousands of publications. Later that year, with Restaurant Connect, he was designing clever triggers for hospitality, and he also built one of the first remote access dining dashboards. It could predict what guests would like. In 2017, he helped in the oh my goodness.
You're all right.
No, I can edit these bits out. Okay. In 2017, he helped Irrational Marketing become one of Canada's fastest growing startups. He also was so this is the legacy bit you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Thomas created legacy.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. He was also involved in the legacy, an early version of conversational AI. It led people to talk to their ancestors through video journals. Today, Jackson is the founder and CEO of First Class Business. He leads a team of people in the US and South America, and he also is behind AI Marketplace, which connects entrepreneurs and AI integrators. His podcast, Vision Pros Live, is the top 5 globally, and Jackson has worked across 10 startups in more than 20 countries. His approach is not about hype. It's about building systems that make things simple. He does it with patience, persistence, and reliability. Jackson, welcome to the Champion Mindset Collective podcast.
Anthony, thank you so much for having me. One small correction. We are not a top 5 podcast. We're a top 5%, which makes us maybe a top 160,000th podcast. But You're right.
Okay.
I love the quiet introduction and the steady play. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. We got this.
Thank you, Jackson. Jackson, before we go into a whole lot of questions, tell us about your journey in life. How did you get here from childhood?
Thank you for asking, Anthony. And guys, if you're listening in to Championship Mindset Collective, Anthony is building such an insanely great infrastructure for this show that I've got 6 team members on my team who help me build our podcast, and he aligns so well. I'm like, how does he do the work of 7 of us? It is absolutely incredible what you built. And so with the life and business stuff, I was a very gifted and talented child, which meant that they put me in leadership roles that I wasn't qualified to be a leader for. But I didn't realize that till way later. Nonetheless, as a gifted and talented kid, I got a 0.37 GPA, which in the United States, that's like the F of all Fs. It's like getting a Z instead of an F. It was really, really bad. I went on a mission though, and that's kind of the only real piece of purpose beyond basketball and playing the trumpet that mattered to me. And so I go on this mission, and I'm down in Uruguay for 18 months or so, and I met this little boy who he was the oldest of 6 kids under the age of 9. They lived in a very poverty-driven shack with dirt floors and no real bed. And he looked like my nephew, and I had to wonder where he slept and what he got to, why he didn't have food and things like that. One night he walks up to me and asks me for a piece of bread, and it was like 9:30 at night. I couldn't take him anywhere. I had to tell him no. And my nephew bows his head down, walks around me, and I just start crying silently. 2 people I'm walking with, we're used to this. It happens all the time when you're in a third world country, but not when you turn your nephew down for starvation. Like that's crazy. And so I'm, like starting to hyperventilate a little bit, and I'm getting ready to like just rip my shirt off. I'm like, what? Why do I have a nice button-up shirt, nice tie, nice slacks, nice shoes, nice backpack? Why do I get all of this? And this kid has nothing. Doesn't even have a piece of bread. And so I think, okay, I'm going to go to the rice fields tomorrow, and I'm going to work, and I'm going to make some money, and I'm going to open a little computer store because those people down here, they seem to have some money. And boom, I felt a hand hit my face. And I heard a voice that said, Jackson, why don't you go home, take advantage of your education for once in your life, learn about business, and help as many towns like this as you possibly can. And in Jackson style, I argued, it's just who I am. And I'm like, but isn't that selfish? And I never got another answer. I was given my answer. And I spent, well over a decade, Anthony, struggling with that, trying to wonder, was this real? Like is this really a thing that I'm supposed to do? To what level? How am I qualified? What am I went to the BYU School of Business and tried to get in. They were like, yeah, not a chance, not with your grades. They didn't say it that harshly, but they said no. And so I got into, I didn't want to get student loans. I didn't know how that worked. I wasn't really a dedicated student anyway. And so I was like, you know what? I got to find a business owner who's going to take a chance on me. And so I
Mm.
did. I joined network marketing. They'll take anybody's credit card. And so I joined network marketing and started, we're looking at Success Magazine and listening to these CDs. Darren Hardy interviewed John Maxwell and you know, Jim Rohn, everybody else. And so I'm listening to those, and I got really successful with network marketing. Within 6 months, they sent me a check for like $8.45 or something. And so I had all my credit cards maxed out pretty much. And, my mom kicked me out. I love my mom. She's going to hate that I said that, but she did. She's like, go get a real job and like be a real person in life. You got to go be productive. And so I went to Lifetime Fitness, got a job as well there. And I noticed though, all along the way, Anthony, I could see how my mission, the principles I learned there applied to network marketing. And in network marketing, I could see how the systems applied to what was happening at Lifetime Fitness and the training process we went through. And somehow I just kind of collected those experiences and knew it was important to hang on to the templates, the procedures, the resources. And long story long, I ended up finding my way into a Y Combinator that's the inventor of Gmail, Paul Buchheit and Matt Cutts, the search director of Google, invested in our little startup. And I then went to Restaurant Connect a few years after that and helped it grow. And you said the rest of the track record, but
Mm.
I was an integrator who didn't know I was an integrator, who didn't have a degree, got undermined in every initiative, but I was forceful and like, I'm going to figure this out and grinding. And all of that hustle and grind, if you will, combined with a desire for balance and putting family first, it led me to just continue to unpack how in the world does all this business stuff work. And at Video Power Marketing, to wrap it up, we ran campaigns, some of the best viral video ad campaigns of all time for John Lee Dumas, Lewis Howes, Michael Hyatt, Yahoo.com,
Mm.
Vivint, Corel. All of these campaigns were people who spent more than $10,000 per month on YouTube ads. And that key, being able to see behind the scenes there, helped me be able to validate and see that all the hard work stuff that I had done could be combined with viral growth. And if you build great teams and great infrastructure, you can create a compound effect that can grow wildly. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I got into it. Simple
Mm.
steps.
Yeah. Love your journey. I mean, look, there's some similarities there. Like I never was good at school myself, and
Yeah.
I got C's and D's and E's, and I remember leaving school at 16 and just started working. Really, yeah,
Track path for
and
entrepreneurship. C's, D's, and E's.
100%. It's almost like I was probably called to do entrepreneurship but you go through these experiences and you come to the realization that you're not meant to be in a job situation or corporate world. So yeah, but what a journey you've had, and lots of
Mhm.
amazing things that you've done. The Y Combinator. I don't know much about it, but I've watched some videos recently with I
Mhm.
think in the last few months where Sam Altman was talking at the Y Combinator. So
Yeah.
that
Oh, we
was
were
quite
way
interesting.
before that too. We were one of the
Yeah.
OGs.
Oh
2010.
wow.
They didn't have, they didn't have a huge footprint yet for all that they were doing. And I was just an employee at I was the first person hired for sales at the company. And so it
Mm,
was neat to learn through Lloyd about his meetings with Paul Buchheit and Matt Cutts. And I got to help him on his slide presentations and stuff like that and what he was preparing for it. But it gave me a very safe path for learning from startups that I sacrificed a lot. You don't make a lot of money working out of a garage in Austin,
yeah.
Texas. But
Yeah.
you, there was so much I was able to learn and glean from that. And then I'm listening to Alex Hermosi's $100 million offer and driving. This is years later. And he starts talking about Lloyd and this little company out of Austin. I'm like, holy crap. Alex is talking about my first startup. Like, how weird is that? There's been so many serendipitous moments that have come from being involved in that have just created a really fulfilling process. But man, I don't know. It's just I hope that entrepreneurs realize, like, guys, it's hard and it's a brutal path, and life's not meant to be easy. Soccer's no fun if there's no alternative team. You got to be going against something. But also know that, friends, if you're young and you're listening, take your education seriously. Lean
Yeah.
into those materials and those opportunities, those networking things if you can. But if you know you're designed for another path, you do you.
Yeah. Like if I knew what I knew, what I know now, I probably would have, I mean, in hindsight, you can say that I would have done this, but absolutely, know what you're passionate about. What is it that what is it that really excites you, and lean into that. And no matter how hard it is, just keep going. And podcasting, for example, wasn't something that wasn't a career or something that I said I was going to do. I just fell into it.
Yep,
Out of,
absolutely. I had
yeah.
no idea
So
either. I should have known. I mean, on my report cards in Texas, they put an E next to your name for excessive talking, and I got that every time. So like
yeah,
it should have been a sign like, oh, you should go into the podcasting world. But you mentioned passion, Anthony. I'm gonna make a little plug here on purpose because I've got a program for that called
yeah,
academy.firstclassbusiness.io/passion-pro. Passion Pro is designed to help people figure out what their passions are, live a life of purpose, and lead with love.
mm,
And so I'm glad you mentioned it because that's exactly what I teach. I'm in Ecuador right now. And that's also what I teach the Latinos. When I go in to teach an English class, I teach about how to find your passions, how to lead with, how to live with purpose, and how to lead with love. And
yeah.
if I could give that to anybody in life, that's exactly what I would tell them. Like these three things are your keys to having a fulfilling life.
Yeah, when you're living a purposeful life and you're doing things that align to your purpose, it's so much more meaningful than just doing a job
I can't
and
live
so
any
on.
other way. No way.
Yeah,
Not a chance.
yeah, yeah. Where do I even go from here? It's like, and some of the names that you mentioned, like Lewis Howes. I mean, Lewis has been one of the greatest inspirations for me for this podcast, right?
Wow.
So
Yeah,
he's actually one of the main inspirations for
that's
me.
cool. Well,
And
I mean, I can dig into some dirt on the, I'm just kidding. I didn't have any dirt, but I did save one of his campaigns. I won't lie about
yeah,
that. I'm not going to mince
yeah,
words. You want me to
yeah,
tell you about it?
yeah. Tell
Because
us about it.
man, it's the details, guys. Trust me, Lewis Howes and his team had already constructed 99% of the success. My
Mm,
little bitty contributions, I will say they're critical though, because if you have 99% of a bridge and there's a 6-inch gap, my car is not crossing that sucker. It's not going to happen. Not as a consumer. I won't use it. And so it's very important that we dive into the details and that we really create everything that's necessary. So here Lewis comes. He had been referred by Ryan Blair, and Ryan Blair had just launched Rock Bottom to Rock Star. So we did the book launch for that. He was already a New York Times bestselling author for the first launch. And it was so fun being part of that process because these people like Lewis and like Ryan, they know that they all call secretly solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, because they never make it. Right. You
mm,
have to have a team. You have to become a great leader. You've got to have people there who are able to help and support. And so when we go to meet with Lewis, we're sitting down to do our onboarding as the YouTube ad company. I'm shadowing Jake in the process and helping with the onboarding stuff, and the LinkedIn guys in the room, the Instagram guys in the room, the person who's great at email marketing. And what did I do? I just went and opted into everybody's funnels. I was like, if Lewis is hiring them, they got to be awesome at what they do. And
yeah,
I got this little black book of business of all these great providers, and I started to train people in India and in the Philippines and in Central and South America. Follow these leaders, model just like Russell Brunson teaches. We
mm,
want to model what works, not just from a landing standpoint, from an organization standpoint. So
yeah,
it's the night before we're supposed to launch Lewis's campaign. They're a little bit behind on things, and I watched the ad, and I'm like, oh crap. I called Brittany up, his assistant, and I said, Brittany, I would tell Jake first. I'm like, dude, I got to tell him he's going to stop this campaign. It's going to ruin his reputation. And I explained it to Jake. He's like, yeah, give him a call. So I called Brittany up, talked to her, and I said, hey, Brittany, we have to change the video. And she's like, we can't change the video. Lewis is flying out tomorrow and he's sick. And I was like, if you don't change this video, it's going to ruin his reputation, Brittany. You've got to change it. And she's like, what do you mean? And I know, like, I'm going to get fired if I'm wrong. They don't agree with me on this. But I'm like, look, he starts his ad out by saying, hey, you're an entrepreneur and that's why you're watching this ad. And we're running a campaign on YouTube where the ad is invasive and you have the opportunity to skip this after 5 seconds. So no, the people who are watching this are going to go, no, you jerk. I'm not watching this because I'm watching it because you're interrupting what I want to watch. Go away. All right. They're going to click that skip button and they're never going to want to see him again. She's like, no, I get it. We're like, what do we do? And I said, just do what Jake teaches everybody. And we're going to do a pattern interrupt where you acknowledge the skip opportunity and you say, hey, if you're an entrepreneur, feel free to watch this ad. If not, go ahead and skip it. So Jake was the first person to launch those types of campaigns. Lewis made that change. His campaign went wild. His registrations, again, was my input the only thing? No, he had hundreds of things that they had planned out on it. But it was very fun to have that little bitty impact on that campaign and help the team with the reports and stuff. And if, guys, if I'm so glad Anthony brought up modeling Lewis Howes and seeing what's there, because and all the other interactions I had with him and their brand, tip top shape. They are great leaders.
Yeah, for me, listening to Lewis, the way he interviewed, and also Jay Shetty and Rob Dial were the three people who kind of like I looked up to.
Nice.
But what stood out about Lewis is that on his website, he has a page dedicated to the guest. And and this was like 4 years ago, and I was like, I want to do that for my podcast. And you've seen what I've built.
Oh yeah,
and I was able, yeah, so I'm able to do that.
I should give credit too. We modeled Lewis a bit. We modeled Lewis's all episodes page, and the top 10, he has the pages for the top 10, right? I mean, we said the same thing. We want to build those for every single episode that we can. So we do it for our live episodes, and now we're just barely starting to launch it for the podcast sessions. And to your point, Anthony, like you do a phenomenal job of not just honoring the guests, but your guidance for me coming onto this show is world-class. Very, very few podcasters help me see what the opportunities are. And while you know the guests that exist that comes in and they're like, are you just trying to sell me something? Or are you just trying to, what is your real goal behind this? It's like, dude, calm down. Like what, why are you acting like a gazelle coming into a lion's den? Just be a lion and you won't get eaten alive. But if you act like a gazelle and you go into a lion's den, you're in trouble. And so anyway, we're not lions. We're not trying to eat people, but the process that you've built, I can see how much you honor us. It is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Look, it's about the experience that you give someone, right? And if you want them to come back, and if you want to go on this journey together, because look, the collective is all about being a collective of people that are going to change this world, right? And I can change my world, you can change your world, but together we can change the world. So if we align rather than compete, we collaborate and we actually work together, then we can achieve so much. Why do you think? You look at governments, they are constantly fighting against each other. Is that serving the people of their country? No, it's not, right? So if they work together, then they're serving the people of the country. And there's so much, like I was watching that episode with Daniel Priestley, and I'm actually on his accelerator at the moment, with Daniel Priestley and Stephen Barnett, is it? The Diary of the CEO. And he was talking about how small businesses is the way to go, and government need to be supporting the small businesses rather than the large enterprises. So
that would be nice.
That would be nice, and that's another episode. Let's talk more about your journey though. Your journey into building systems. It goes back long before AI was like a buzzword, a buzzword or a word that people talk about today. Can you take us back to 2010 with On Local? Tell us about the earliest version and what you were building there, and also what problems you're trying to solve then.
Absolutely. Guys, the cool thing is I missed the AI bus by like 5 or 7 years, and so did most of us. Like, if you're listening about AI right now, like you have to realize that while you didn't understand the lingo of what the AI bus was, you've all been using AI since the 90s or even before that. There's been so many, but it's like a new language. And it's like, imagine that you don't know how to say the words, I love you to somebody. That doesn't mean you didn't know how to love. That doesn't mean you weren't expressing love. You just didn't know the words for it. And the same is true with AI. There's just a new vernacular related to it. And so give yourself all credit. Every single one of you, in my eyes, are the true AI specialists. And AI to me is authentic intelligence. If you can lean into authentic intelligence, you can then guide artificial intelligence to do amazing things. So back to On Local. And I didn't build these systems. Lloyd Armbrust and his team of tech savvy people with Ruby on Rails and things that I didn't understand. I've tried to bring them a coder once, and that coder was my friend. He came out, he's like, I didn't come close to passing the interview. When I asked the CTO, I was like, well, shoot, this guy's like one of the most successful people I know. Why couldn't he do it? And he said, Jackson, coding is like being an English lit major. Like if you just majored in it and you didn't actually apply the English literature stuff to write your own stuff growing up, you really don't know how to code. I was like, oh, that's a really good analogy. And so we're looking for people who actually know how to invent stuff. So at Own Local, we were working to save freedom of the press. And this is fun because I've never talked about this, Anthony, publicly. Alex Hormozy misrepresented Lloyd's story in $100 million offer. And I remember being like, dang, I want to talk to Alex about this someday and find out, is that because Lloyd changed the direction of what he was doing? Or is this because Alex wanted to create a narrative for his novel? Or they never really talked about the depth of what Lloyd was doing. Lloyd built Own Local to save freedom press for local newspapers that were getting eaten alive by Patch, which was AOL's version of bringing in really cheap journalists and dominating the market with online ads. And the local newspapers couldn't keep up with the revenues necessary to keep journalists employed. And so we were losing local press. And so that's why
Mm.
Lloyd built this system. It had nothing to do with revenue initially, or it wasn't just a cash grab game. It was a very strong purpose. And so what the system did was, one of the things that it did was it digitized their classified ads. And so the system would take the classified ad, digitize it, and in the process of digitizing it, it would recognize the text that was on there. There's nothing first world these days, but back then it was cutting edge. And it would put that associated with a directory for the newspaper, because the newspapers all had super old domains. And because they
Mhm.
had old domains, they were very high search engine ranking capacities. And then when we created the directory out of it, we were creating backlinks to local businesses that could then pay for premium spots in the directories, just like Yelp or any other online directory system. And we were often picking on yellow pages and white pages and traditional advertising. We then started to build websites for those newspapers' clients. And so the
Mhm.
newspaper had a 20-year relationship or more with these local business owners. They just didn't have the digital skill sets. And so they partnered with us on that. And then we would split the revenues with the newspapers 30-70, 70-30, or 50-50, depending on their package. But that would allow them to then sell the news. So like the newspaper, I said, look, I don't know how a website works, but I know you need one. And John would be like, yeah, I do need one. Why don't I buy from you guys? And so they'd buy from them, and we would just do the fulfillment on those websites. And my job was to
Mm.
contract the newspapers for the enterprise level role, then go out to the newspaper and train the reps on basics of how the web worked and how the website works, so they could sell those packages on an ongoing basis for us. So those were the AI side, was that whole digital transformation process. But I would say even using a system like Weebly, which was what our website platform was,
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. Weebly sucked. It was bad. But it got the job done for its time. And even a template, being able to use a template is a form of artificial intelligence.
Mm.
We don't need to overcomplicate it. And the too complicated things right now, most business owners are just going to get in big trouble trying to use those. And when the law starts cracking down too on like misrepresenting what you're putting out in the world, yikes, watch out. I think we need to focus on compliance and ethics when it comes to AI.
Yeah, 100%. I've been talking to a lot of founders, CEOs, and also experts in the AI space, and they agree as well. So like back in the 80s, 90s, like with AI, what was it like? Like of course you had this on one on Own Local, but what were people? Yeah, what were they doing that you could sort of say that this was AI
For sure,
back
guys.
then?
And if all of you go to ai.firstclassbusiness.io, that's where the
Hmm.
AI marketplace begins. If you go to ai.firstclassbusiness.io /depth, DEPTH, you'll find a secret page that I think you'll find quite fun. But 1998, the search result, searching for things on the internet, every time you questioned what a search result told you, you used the one AI skill that AI cannot replace. You use your own personal judgment. When you use spam filters in 2004, every
Hmm.
report spam click trained that system, and you labeled thousands of conversations to help the AIs that Google had created to be much more on point. In 2011, a lot of us started to use GPS systems. You started letting AI redirect your day and tell you which
Mm.
direction to work. 2013, anytime you hit next episode or thumbs up a song on Pandora or other things, you're training those engines how to serve you better. So again, I know it ruins the story of all those who want to hype up AI and make AI seem like this magic thing. And no, it's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Every advertisement online that you've bought, it's got an automated auction system that is
Mhm.
comparing and contrasting which auction level is your ad worth applying for and who else is trying to compete and which people are we trying to target with this. There's just so much mystery built around things that entrepreneurs, my friends, we should have been paying attention to a long time ago. We cannot delegate
Mm.
by abdication and understand how our business models work. So if we flip the switch on that, we start looking at, I need to know enough of this so that I'm not just, like being awkward with it. Then you can put yourself in a position to win much better. Michael Gerber, The E-Myth 101, it changed my life. I read it 8 years too late. Read it today if you haven't.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Mhm.
What was a core principle or mindset that you've seen consistently, or that you can have seen consistently apply across all of the different domains that you've worked across and building
Absolutely.
successful systems? Yeah.
Super wise question, Anthony. So I stumbled on it kind of by chance. I'm not self-made. I was made by a lot of people. I didn't have my dad in my life, and it takes a tribe to raise a child. Like it really did. A lot of tribes. So when I went to Lifetime Fitness, I got hired for birthday party coordinator, and I had wanted to be on the sales team. Anyway, I was walking past the area manager's desk, and he calls me. He's like, "Hey, how'd it go?" And I was like, "Well," and I was nervous. I thought he was going to take my job from me. And he's like, "Why birthday party coordinator?" Now I'm like panicking. I'm like, oh, I've got 30 plus nephews and nieces. I love kids. And he goes, "Why not? Why aren't you on my sales team?" And I stopped. I said, "That's a good question." I said, "She told me they don't have any openings." And he said, "Shut the door real quick." So I shut the door and I go in his office and he goes, "Jackson, this is a total HR foul, but you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I have hired so many of you guys and your integrity is high. You work hard. You're honest. I want you on my sales team. I'll get you an appointment, get you the job, but I can train anybody how to sales, but I can't train integrity." And I took that concept that he taught me and I started to look for like, okay, how does this apply to others? How do I recognize integrity in other people at a higher level? I already knew a little bit by my 2-year mission dedicated to trying to find that. And then as I worked with founders, I realized, okay, what if I combine the elements of success? What if I combine integrity with somebody like Lloyd? And I'm like, this guy's been working in newspapers and digitizing websites for more than 10 years. He is not likely to give up. No
Mm.
matter how hard this gets, he's going to stick it out and make it happen. And so if you combine the integrity with the true expertise, 5 to 10 years of expertise, those founders are always going to figure out a way to make it, even if it's making it small, even if it's just kind of hanging on there. But then we have to say, okay, well, what type of environment do I want to work in? Do I want to work in an environment where because this person can have integrity to a degree, they can have the experience, but what if they're a real jerk? And what if they're
Mm.
a big fan of Grant Cardone and they want to tell you what you should do and have to do and need to do, and they'll only work with people who are willing to be subordinate? You should move away from Grant Cardone if you don't like what I said. But just kidding. I don't want to tell you what you should do, my friends. I invite you to maybe
Mm.
make a new move. You could benefit from doing this, but I am not your God. I am not the person
Mm.
who tells you what you should do.
Mm.
And so I started to look at what are the virtues then of the leaders that I want to work with. For us, our foundation is love. I fall out of alignment with it sometimes, but at the end of the day, that's our foundation. I try to stay aligned with love at all times. I am patient. Hospitality requires patience when people get mad to be able to go through that. Persistence. If I'm going to follow up and follow through and get things done, I've got to be willing to sometimes help people in. And people think that patience and persistence no, they go hand in hand when you're a professional. And the last two that are the hardest to measure for, in my opinion, is somebody consistent and are they reliable? And if they're consistent are two different things, consistency and reliable. I can have a janitor who's consistent at opening the front doors every single day for my bank. That doesn't mean that I can rely on him to count the money in order to look at what is the best investment for things. Reliability and consistency are two very different things. I was talking to one of the best coaches I've ever met the other day. He's been working with me for several months. I might name him later. But we were talking about how so many people, they look at their life and they say, I have high integrity. I'm
Mhm.
consistent. I'm
Mhm.
reliable. When in reality, if we want to grow and we want the opportunity to help our team grow, we have to take a mindset and adopt the mindset of where am I not practicing integrity? Where am I not consistent? Where am I not reliable? There's so many areas, Anthony, where I lack those elements. And it's such an opportunity for me to take a look at it honestly and say, you know what? I'm still valuable. I can still love myself, even though I fall short in these areas. But how do I either bridge this gap for myself or how do I get team members that are working with me that are also able to help provide those strengths where I have weaknesses. And
Yeah.
so the founders that I've followed, they've been the shoulders of the giants that I stand on as I keep trying to learn. How
Mm,
do I keep applying this to myself as a founder? But if the founders don't have those basic traits, we have a rule, and it's bless and release. All right,
yeah.
let's move on from those types
Yeah.
of people and let them figure it out on their own if they don't like what we're putting down.
Yeah, well, we're on a journey. You know, we never really get there. So it's always
Yeah.
a continuous system or process of becoming a better version in different areas of your life.
Yeah.
And yeah, as you mentioned, all of those principles and the mindset is so important. And we see this in this competitive world where everyone's just trying to outdo each other. And it's like,
Oh,
if you just work together and support
dude.
each other, you know.
That was
Mm,
so me. I was so obsessed with it. I had what's called an inferiority complex.
yeah.
And somebody who has that, it's like I feel inferior to people, so I try to outperform them. And
Mm,
I was 28, 20, no, I think I was 30 years old when I finally realized I'd been well aware of it since I was 19 that it existed, but I didn't know I had it. I thought I was kind of immune to it. And as I went through a divorce, and as I went and started to relate to like where are my leadership skills lacking? I'm not a very good leader, blah blah blah. I was on a track one night. I had a back surgery already, and it's starting to drizzle. And I've got one more lap to go, and I was so close to stopping, calling it quits, and going home. And I saw two people that looked like security guards, and I jumped the fence to be on this track. And so I'm like, maybe there. So I had the rain coming. I had one more lap. I was already tired, and I had a real legitimate excuse to say like, "Nah, this is good enough." And I thought in my head, WWLJD. What would LeBron James do? And I thought he'd crush this lap. I booked it, Anthony. I hit the accelerator. I finished the lap, and I ran an extra 25 yards afterwards as fast as I could. And after that, I was like, dang, this is what it feels like to be LeBron James. In this one instance of my life, I know what it feels. How he would have done this, whether there's a crowd or not, right? Back to integrity. He would have done his best because he's not competing against the world. He's making sure that he is living his best life, doing his best. And that's where I finally flipped a switch and realized, dang, you know what? It doesn't matter if I'm not better than so and so. What matters is if I don't do my best today, I can't achieve my best outcome in life. But if I always try to do my best and when I lose sight of it, just get right back on track, forgive myself instantly, move right back on track, that's the only way possible to achieve my best results. And why would that not be good enough for me? That's good enough for my God. That should be good enough for me. I should be able to be completely content with it. So I love that you said that because I was trapped and I wish somebody had come along in my life and helped me see that I didn't need to be better than everybody else. I don't know why I was
yeah.
stuck with it, but I was.
Yeah, yeah. Like we're all on a journey of our own, right? And so we're all running our own race. And just like in a 100-meter sprint, you'd have your own lane, and you run in your lane. You wouldn't jump lanes you know. Yes, you're competing against people, but the thing is, you've only got to compete against yourself and go, okay, that's where I was yesterday. How can
Mm,
be how can I be better than what I was yesterday?
yeah,
And but we also live in this world of the gap. You know, we don't have this, we don't have that.
right.
But if we look back and we
That's
go,
life.
look how
My
far I've come.
friends, look at the
Yeah,
dictionary. How big is the
yeah,
dictionary and how many words do you know out of it? Very
yeah,
few, right? And think about oxygen. If I asked you to lecture on oxygen for 1 hour, none of us could. We are very small and we have very limited access, and yet we survive and learn how to thrive. But we don't learn how to thrive by focusing on what we don't have and underappreciating the value of everything that we do have. I don't need a bigger
yeah,
vocabulary to be a better person.
yeah, absolutely. How did your experiences, your early experiences, shape how your understanding of how technology could serve people?
It's a great question. I was 5 years old and at the mall. It's funny, you just sparked this. It's not like I was prepared. I just like, oh yeah. I was I have five sisters, man. We were in the mall all the time. It sucked. And I'm like waiting for them to buy dresses and check out shoes and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, so I'd go in the hallway and I just like walk around and I saw this kid checking his pager over and over and over. He's obsessed. I thought it was kind of cool. He was rubbed off and I'm like, oh, I mean, he must be important. And I thought about our car in the parking lot and how we had a little beeper for our car to unlock the doors. And I was like, wait, if somebody was robbing our car right now, we would never know. that they were taking it, or something was wrong, why wouldn't they, this is 1992 in that case. So why not make it to where it alerts you that your car is being broken into? And so like my little like ingenious nature of five was like, oh, I should be an inventor. And I could create things like this. And I always had a mind like that to look at what was possible. And I think my mom deserves a lot of credit for that. She gave me the book, The Investment Guide for Motley Fool's Investment Guide for Teenagers. I was 7 years old when I read that. And she taught me the piano from the time I was like 4. And so when you learn instruments too, you're learning a new language, and that
Mm.
expands your horizons, and you get kind of creative with stuff. And I played every sport. My sisters spoiled me to death, and they taught me. And they were very encouraging. I remember the day that they were teaching me to draw, and they showed me how to write an M, and I drew a W. And my sister thought, she took the board and flipped it over and goes, "Yay, you did it!" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I did it!" Like there's pros and cons to that.
Yeah.
You learn to manipulate life a little bit too, but all of those little ingenuities or opportunities, creating a sticker company and selling stickers at the fair, or selling what do they call it? You put the food drop colorings in the Rice
Mhm.
Krispies and sell those at the Entrepreneur Day. And we're blessed with all that too in America. I grew up in it was a Jewish and Mormon community in San Antonio. And so there was a lot of very highly talented people with great families, and they all took me under their wings. And so I got to learn from so many different family environments and opportunities that were just handed to me on a silver platter that allowed
Mm.
me to start seeing the world in a different way. And my mom's an entrepreneur. My dad is an entrepreneur. My stepdad's an entrepreneur. My stepmom's an entrepreneur. My grandparents are entrepreneurs. And so it didn't like hit me until later in life, because we're also very independent. But all of that eventually came to, yeah, grandpa's oil and gas tool rental company was the largest in the world in its time. And I didn't get to learn directly from it, but I can look back and see certain things. Like he had a stack of cards. He had cards that were branded for his company, and he had golf tees that were branded and golf balls that were branded. And so I can draw back in those memory banks, and I've got all these weird elements that at any point in time can create an idea for
Mm.
some other entrepreneur of how to use that or how to take advantage of it. So it's weird.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Now, for business owners and agency leaders who are feeling overwhelmed with, with all the volume of information and the
Mm.
constant change that we're going through with technology and AI, from your perspective, what is the biggest mistake people are making when they're trying to integrate AI or new systems into the existing business?
Is that they're trying to do it, the how instead of the who. I
Mm.
almost named First Class before I found First Class Business as a name and realized, man, I really care about service, and I don't want people to have second class experiences. My other choice for naming my company was overwhelmingmarketing.com. And I wanted to plant the seed and go against
Mm.
the grain and say, this stuff's not supposed to be super simple or super easy, and just like the human body, it's simple enough that my daughter can draw it,
Mm.
but who's 5 years old, but it's complicated enough that if a surgeon studies it for 30 years, he can still say he doesn't know the first thing about it. So intricacy and simplicity, that's all part of life. There's a book called Who Not How. I've never
Mhm.
read it. I don't need to read it. It makes sense. If I've got more than two hands, and I've got more than two brains, and I've got more than two hearts, and I've got 48 hours instead of 24 hours in a day, then naturally the byproduct of that is going to mean that my success is going to grow up. But I see so many entrepreneurs say, oh, yeah, I need to do that. I need to think that way. I've got to make that happen. And I'm like, okay, intentionality, word choice wise, we have the opportunity to do that. We could learn what this is like. Right? If we move towards empowering others and helping others out, we can just do so much more. And so
Mm.
that's what I wish entrepreneurs would realize is the tools, they're wonderful, but just because you play with the same basketball that the Spurs or the Knicks are playing with does not qualify you for the league. It doesn't mean
Mm.
you have everything. It's just one important tool, but we've got the opportunity to empower other human beings to come by our side. And I see very few entrepreneurs who know how to recruit. Anthony, they almost always ask you, hey, Anthony, this is all great. How much is this going to cost? What's it cost to work with you? You might as well ask Anthony, what's the least amount I can pay you? Come on now, guys. That's not whining and dining. That's not
Mm.
recognizing the brilliance and power. That's not creating a win-win. That's a controlling tactic based on a fear-based mindset that's stuck in the law of scarcity. If we can move from that, move towards abundance, Anthony, we appreciate it. We love what you do. What's the maximum thing that you could do for it? What does that look like?
The value,
And how
yeah.
do we create a win-win around that? It's
Mm.
a whole different mindset. I see very few entrepreneurs operating that.
Yeah, exactly. I was on a call last night with Topher Morrison from Dent, and he was talking about how when the value outweighs the price, and you've got the Niagara Falls type thing where basically your value is higher than the price, then that's when people are likely to buy from you because they can see how much value. But then there's so many people that are like, I get people coming to me saying, "What tool should I use?" And I'm like, and I'm like, that's the wrong conversation to have.
I
It's
think it's
like,
silly though. I don't like his theories. I like you more than that. And so
yeah,
here's what I mean by that, Anthony.
yeah,
The value of it, because now if the entrepreneur starts to try to prejudge, like, well, now I can just recognize what his value is versus what the price. Like entrepreneurs are capable of doing that for things that are outside their own expertise, and they do it all the
yeah,
time to digital marketers, where they're a
mm,
plumber or they're a doctor. Like they don't understand how to put the web presence together. And so if they go ask AI, well, how much should this cost me? It's like, well, it depends. Do you want it from Fiverr? Or do you want it from Upwork? Or do you want it from a real professional who
mm,
knows what they're doing?
yeah,
Do you want the pretentious guy who works at Nike, who's never worked in a single startup in his life, happens to have built part of one of the best systems in the world, but does he really know what it's like to work in your small environment? There's so many elements. And so even if the entrepreneur can start to understand value and price, I think too many of us as experts also corner ourselves on that. And then we assume, like, oh, maybe my value isn't enough. Whereas when I'm looking at people and seeing the opportunity, I know that outside this window in Ecuador, I can find people who are loving, patient, persistent, consistent, and reliable. And people who are on a track to want to develop those attributes more and more each day. And if that's the case, I can teach them just like Mark at Lifetime Fitness taught me. I can teach them anything else. I can teach them video production. I can teach them how to read reports. I can teach them all the things that I didn't know about business along the way that I've been able to pick up. And I can teach them, more importantly, the Dan Martell principle of 131. If they've got a problem in front of them, go find 3 solutions and come back to me the one that you might recommend. Right? I
mm,
can teach them to be problem solvers. And so
mm,
entrepreneurs that are struggling with their growth and don't know how, like you, again, we got to stop worrying about the how. We've got to learn how to recognize who is capable of
who's
creating
giving,
profitability and productivity with us. And am I a really good trainer for that? If I'm
mm,
not a good trainer for that, get out of your own way, for heaven's sake. Get somebody
yeah,
else in, find who can.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm in that space. Like I started my AI business last year, and I quickly realized that I couldn't do everything myself. So I
Yes.
brought on people to help me who had the skills because it's like, but not necessarily full time people, but it's like contractors who could come in and
Hey,
do
you got to
a
start
project.
somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm very mindful about this podcasting, as we were talking earlier, is that
Yes,
at the moment, I'm doing all this myself, but if I want to be out there doing public speaking and appearing on podcasts, I'm going to have people that are good at what they do, so that
absolutely.
I can then do more things that I want to do, type thing. So
Anthony, I want to be clear on that too. My self
yeah,
assuredness, people might be like, oh, he's always been like, guys, not even close. My first time hiring somebody is probably the most pathetic hiring story you've ever heard. I
yeah,
was terrified. And so I was at Restaurant Connect and I was in a sales role while being quality assurance guy. I was co founder of the company. I had 10,000 things going on. And I went on Upwork. It was called Odesk at the time. And I saw this person and they were $3.33 an hour, Anthony, and I needed 1 hour of their time per week. I spent 2 weeks researching, studying, seeing if this made sense. I was terrified of bringing this person, and all they had to do was go to my LinkedIn profile and go and open restaurant owners' profiles and then close them. So those restaurant owners could look at my profile. So I had a reason to call them and say, hey, I saw you're checking my profile. Would you like to have an appointment? And I knew that by doing it, I would have 5 appointments per week, which was more than enough to be able to make what I needed to make. But I was so scared of the entrepreneurial mindset that not only did I research for 2 weeks for that $3.33 investment, I was this close to going to my co-founder, the senior co-founder, and asking him for permission to hire somebody for $3.33 an hour for 1 hour a week. I was so close because I was terrified. And then I thought, you know what? I'm an entrepreneur. I can do
mm.
this. I've got the power to do this. You know what? I won't even tell him. I'm just going to do it. Look at me being big and bold. Like I felt so powerful doing that. And but I was terrified at the same time, and it worked out splendidly. It was amazing. It was such an awesome
Mm,
opportunity. So if guys, if you're listening in, you're like, well, I don't know if I can hire, Richard Branson to come work at me. I didn't start where I was willing to talk to Richard Branson. I was
yeah,
terrified of a very small contract out of another country, and
yeah.
you might be starting there too. Lean into it. Give yourself a shot. So I love
It's a
what you
small,
did. You were more bold than me
yeah,
on the first try.
small steps, right? Yeah, small steps.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like, okay, I know what my skills are and I know what I'm good at, but here's some things that I don't have the skills for. So I
Mm,
recognize those, and I brought in people who could do the work. Some of them,
that's awesome.
some of them didn't work out or one didn't work out because that person wanted to own the client, and I was like, the client
Yeah.
belongs to this company. You're a contractor. So, and that's a
Yep.
shame. That was a shame because it would have been a great relationship. But hey, these things
It's
happen, and
funny that you started with something that you weren't good at. I didn't, right? I started with something I was great at, and then you just taught me a
mm,
lesson. I'm like right here. I'm like, oh, cool. Hadn't thought about that correlation. My next hire was disastrous, and I was hiring for
mm,
logos. I'm a horrible designer, like the worst designer on the planet. And so my first design project came back, and it was awful, and I fired
mm,
them immediately. It was all their fault. And then I hired another one, and it came back, and it was all right, but I didn't hire them back. I let them go too. And then I got ready to hire the third person. And I started thinking, I was like, okay, every time you're pointing a finger at somebody else, there's three pointing back at you.
yeah,
Is this really my fault? There's no way. These guys all, they had to have screwed it up. I go back and look at the first project, Anthony. I didn't even understand my instructions to him. I
mm,
was like, oh crap, I screwed this up. It wasn't him, it was me. I went to the next one and they all had 5-star reviews. And so I was also condescending and felt self righteous, like, well, maybe all these business owners are broke and they don't know what they're doing either. So, it's probably still his fault, not mine. It took me a while to own that pride. Well, the third person I hired, and this is all from Fiverr for the next three, I thought I had a very brilliant mindset lesson and epiphany of like, what if I actually ask this person what their favorite holiday is? And if they want to be a designer long term or if they want to be something else, what if I actually, novel idea. What if I just take interest in this human being for once? And I realized that I was hiring people and treating them like they were a pair of shoes from Payless or from Walmart. I wasn't actually treating them like a human. And that guy, the next one I hired, I asked him those questions. He came to bat. He did everything he could to help me move things. We're still friends to this day, but
mm,
I made a great mistake early on of participating in VA relationships. I call it virtual abuse. If we learn to overcome our nature as founders of the virtual abuse that we put people through, we actually care for their lives. We care who their family is. We care what they want. Those people will actually care about our vision too. They'll come and build with a
mm,
new attitude. So that was another big lesson I learned early on that I wish I had adopted far sooner because it would have helped all of my
yeah.
companies out further had I actually been there to care for the people who were helping me build the vision.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing is also like, I mean, I'm part of a couple of networking groups, and like, you don't necessarily have to always get people in your business, like people working in your
Monetary,
business, right? But you could also partner with other businesses that can help you.
huge.
So just
Barter, trade.
exactly. So like next month, I'm getting featured in a local magazine here, and so I went to a guy that I've known for maybe 3 or 4 years as part of a
Mhm.
networking group. I've never really asked for his services, but this time I actually went and said, "Hey, can you do the actual page for me?" and so on. So
Yeah,
I had a quick chat on the phone, and within 2 days he had it all done, ready. I
that's
sent it off
awesome.
to be done. The photographer. I hired a photographer who could take photos, and because and again, I needed photos for the magazine thing, so that's all
Yeah,
done as well. Now I could try and do it myself, or and but
painful.
I'm not a graphic designer, and
Yeah.
I'm not a
And
photographer, so
every moment that you or I spend doing things like that is a moment that we're not representing our brand as the Walt Disneys of our company, and we are
yeah,
losing money. We are
yeah,
losing opportunity to do where our value really needs to go. So it's so important to lean in the way that you are to those partnerships. And the novel
yeah,
idea, it's like, I wonder which university was the first one to be like, you know what, Stanford, we're Harvard. And people think we hate each other. Why don't we play a football game against each other so that people can see how much we hate each other and we'll all make a ton of money off the process, but we'll pretend to be enemies? It's like, come on now. Like that strategic partnership that has led
yeah,
to billions and billions and billions of dollars. And so
Yeah.
even your worst competitors out there, as long as they're not the Grant Cardones who will eat you alive, I keep picking on him, but you know what I mean? As long as they're not those types of people, if they are willing to engage in strategy together, there are so many opportunities for creating more abundance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And you know, this conversation, this is not just a one-off conversation, because next week I'm appearing on your podcast as well.
What?
Yeah, and also there's opportunities for us to work together and
Guys,
see what.
I'm recruiting him. He knows it. I am heavily recruiting Anthony. And I'm like,
Yeah,
Anthony, I want Jay Setchell to talk to you and bring you in. I want Damon to help bring you in. I want you to help me get Damon to come in, because Jay's already in, by the way.
yeah,
And so, yes, always the abundance mindset. And if Anthony's like, well, it costs $1 million to work with me, Jackson, per day, then I'll be like, Anthony, I don't have $1 million per day yet, but maybe you can teach me how to get it, because that would be awesome. Right? It's like, I don't have to fear your desires, your needs, and what's possible. The only thing I have to fear is if Anthony turns out to be amazing at what he does, an amazing contribution to the network, I got to figure out how I keep him from leaving. That's the big thing I want to be worried about, is how do I make sure that the talent that I recruit is either on our train for an amount of time where it makes sense, where yes, they're going to offboard because they want to do some venture that has nothing to do with us and we want to celebrate that. But man, if I can keep them on the train for life, Anthony, can you imagine in 40 years what our celebrations would look like? Right. Like that,
yeah,
that's what I look at. I'm like, how do I make sure that we do this for a
yeah.
lifetime?
It's a long game thing, not a short-term gain, and that's so it's yeah, absolutely. And like the systemization I've done, the automation I've done on the champion mindset. What we talked about before is that if you can automate and systemize things, and then you bring people on, they're going to enjoy doing the work as well, because they're not having to slog it out. So,
Yep.
and as James Clear says in the Atomic Habits, you don't rise to the level of your goals, but it's the systems. You fall to the level of your systems. So the more we systemize, and the more we help businesses do this as well, then they're becoming successful as well. And I think that the more businesses actually realize that they don't have to work harder, they can actually work a lot smarter by having other partners that will take them on this journey.
Huge.
Is
You guys
the way
get to hear
win.
my next pitch to Anthony. I'm gonna give it right now. And so if there's a small, and he can say no, guys, this is the important thing. Like, we don't need Anthony. I would just love to have him. He doesn't need me. If he'd love to have me, like, there's opportunity there. And so it's about the wants. But Anthony, our podcast since May has grown from 100 subscribers after 3 grueling years of that to 16,000 subscribers as of today.
Wow.
And we've only spent $550 total on YouTube ads. And the people we've targeted have loved the show so much that they've subscribed, liked. It's boosted our organic traction as well, because we're getting in front of the right people. So one thing I'd propose to you, my pitch, if you will, again, is, Anthony, if you have a little budget that you'd like to put into your own advertising on YouTube, my team would be honored to help you set it up so that you can get the same type of traction rolling for your system. If you don't want to do it, don't feel forced or obligated, by all means. I know I'll put you on the spot on your own show, for heaven's sake. But my point is, guys, even though I want Anthony to work with me at the highest levels, I also understand the value of doing what I call playing backyard football before we go and build a big old stadium. Like, if we don't like the football game that we did in the backyard, we're not going to enjoy having a stadium together. So I always look for what's something small and simple, a minimum necessary change, MNC, right? Minimum necessary change for the maximum possible result. And if we can create victories like that, then it opens the door for being able to do other things. So
Yeah,
seed planted.
100%. Let's have a chat and yeah, let's explore that. No problem at all. Yeah, it's something that's been on my mind, and it's like I want someone that I can trust and someone I respect that can help me.
Huge.
Exactly. So
Huge.
I get every day. I get like SEO
And Cindy
people.
runs those, by the way. Cindy has
Yeah.
access to my bank accounts, by the way. Like, that's how
Yeah.
much I trust Cindy. And
Yeah.
so those aspects, I love that you said it again, because the things that people oftentimes overlook, and it's like, Anthony, we're not going to be willy-nilly about this. He has his due diligence processes, I'm sure. I have mine. And the next thing I'm going to ask Anthony is like, hey, I want you to look at First Class Business and Vision Pros, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Is there things that you can do to also help our brand be
100%.
bold? Let me know. Tear things down. Tell me how ugly the baby is. Like, I know what your goal is, and your goal is to make it a beautiful baby. And so I don't have to get like defensive or caught up or worried. Like, no. I want you to do cool things for our brand, just like you do for your own. Like, yeah, let's figure it out. So 100%.
Yeah, let's have a chat and figure it out together. Yeah, absolutely. Now, looking ahead with all the experience, what is one aspect of AI or intelligent systems that you believe is is misunderstood and underutilized by entrepreneurs today?
Ooh, underutilized and overutilized. If I shared my screen, would that be helpful and possible for I know I can do it, but
I think
is
so.
it
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
because I
It's,
want people
yeah.
to see. You got to
Mm.
see AI, guys. And so with this, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go over to this page that I built last week. And man, this is a really open mouth insert foot moment as an entrepreneur, because I posted this on LinkedIn. And thank you, Dr. Jeremy, who's a phenomenal podcaster. But you have to find me on LinkedIn to find it. But I posted this about the B2B deal flow and revenue calculator. And I asked Gemini to help me pull the industry statistics for digital marketers, online coaches, consulting, B2B SaaS, indie podcasters, premium podcasters, and determine if I have X amount of people at the top of my funnel. And I make this based on industry standards. By the way, I excluded New York, Miami, big market. I asked for mid-market price points and the sales cycles. Then what would my return look like if I hit the industry benchmarks for every single one of these KPIs? That way, a rookie business owner could start learning about this way faster than I did. And I posted it, and Jeremy says, Jackson, where are the studies associated with this particular launch? And so I have too many tabs open to find it, guys. But it went back and I went back and I got the studies. It's like, dang it, I didn't do that. Gemini was so embarrassed by itself for fabricating the studies and not pulling accurate data that it created not just a false name for a study and false people who did it, it literally linked to a false page to try to convince me that the study was real. And upon calling it out, I realized, like, crap, this whole page is complete garbage. None of this stuff is truth. So I took it and I gave it back to Claude. And I said, Claude, clean up Gemini's mess. And by the way, Claude does the same type of thing. It is not the saint that's here to save us all. My point, what are you overlooking and undervaluing as entrepreneurs? Comprehensive analysis skills. And you don't have the time to do this in most cases. I have the time to do this because this is my expertise and what I get paid for. And nobody else on the planet that I know can do this the way that I do. But now I've taken it to the next level, created a new tool where it is on point with more accurate studies. I still have to go back and scrutinize one more time just to make sure that everything that it put in here makes sense. But my goal with it was to help any, let's say, digital agency. Let's go ahead and go over to consultants, since you guys can pause the screen later. If a consultant has 20 leads and their conversion rate is 40% from and then that goes to conversions that get to a proposal at 50%, and proposals that close are at 35% industry standards, and you're consulting at a $9,000 rate, and your monthly revenue goal is $18,000. Well, you're not going to hit your revenue goal at $12,600. But if you want to, that means that you need to bump up the amount of leads that you have. And if you bump up the amount of leads that you contact on the front end, then you're likely to get to the goal. So you can do all these things without me, perhaps, if you have more than 24 hours in the day. And if you don't, then learning how to use the AI to help you become a better leader, to help you maximize your own expertise and empower your team members to start learning how to be better leaders. Thank you, Dan Martell, 131. If they've got one problem, go look for 3 solutions. One great place to do that is AI. Maybe recommend the answer, but I have to always go back to AI and say, validate this with real world case studies. Help me see if this is true or not. And then I also want to take it to other third-party sources and find out. And I usually bounce it off of a VC, or I usually bounce it off of somebody in my masterminds, or I put it in front of people like I did on LinkedIn, like, hey guys, give me your critique. And thank God for Jeremy, who came in and was like, hey, yeah, this is missing. We always want to be evaluating our stuff. So guys, use it. It's a great tool, but know that it's a nuclear level tool. And just like I can create wonderful energy with nuclear, I can also destroy things very fast with it. So be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So always use your critical thinking and always, double check things before you get it out there and publish it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've learned as well, that, I always, like, I use chat GPT and Lovable, and always making sure that I'm double checking. And now, if people have been watching this episode and they've resonated with what you've said, they're loving what you're doing. We didn't really talk about Vision Pros much. Could you give us a little bit about a blurb about, or pitch, should I say, about Vision Pros, and also how do people get in touch with you, and how do they, connect, and what have you got on offer?
If you're a visionary leader, come and join me on the show. Tell me about your vision. That's what it's all about. And you can be a brand new leader who's just getting started. Those are some of my favorites to talk to. I want people We don't have the application process in place. You can just sign up right now. And so it's the best time to do it because we're looking at putting an application on because our top day, we had over 100 appointments booked. Sorry, top 48 hour period. Like people want to come and tell us about their vision, which is cool. If you're going to lie to me or be pretentious about it, I'm going to catch it really, really fast. Don't tell me you're not selling your book. Why did you write a book if you don't want people to buy it? I bought an $1,800 system live on the show from somebody who came on my show. He had no idea I was going to do that. I had done my due diligence on it. And so come on, be authentic. Tell us how you're helping the world. Get your stuff out there to the market. And there's no cost to that. We will be vetting you. If you're awesome, we're going to want to work with you. I'm going to try to find a way to figure out how do we work together. Right. But I don't like to push people. I do like to help people see the value that I see in their visions 100%. So visionproslive.com. Anthony's going to come on next week and be our guest. It's been one of the coolest experiences of my life because these leaders come on. I just get to pick their brain. What'd you do? How'd you do it? What'd you learn about that situation? How's this launch going? Like, it is so cool to be able to get so much insight in addition to be able to expand my network of leaders who may want to contribute to what we're doing. And my vision is to bridge the economic gap between North America, South America, and rest of the world. I'm not crazy enough to do that on my own. No way. I need people. I need great leaders by my side.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I created the Champion Mindset Collective, it was a way to share with people, but also create an impact in the world. But personally, for me, it's my own university.
Yes.
I'm talking with some of the top people in the world who have done some amazing things, and I get to learn from the best. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
My friend, I do have another invite for you outside of Vision Pros. Is that okay, Anthony?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the AI marketplace, where we want you to come in and be an AI leader. It's something that we have a founding member for $50 a month and $500 lifetime access. You don't have to pay the $50 each time, but we opened it up with a grant program. And if you're not in a financial position to commit to that, we don't want anybody left behind in the world of AI. Just apply for the grant and do the basic things. It's like a scholarship. You can't get a free scholarship to Harvard without doing your part. Our part's pretty simple. Use the thing once a month, tell people about it, be generous with others, but there's a whole checklist on it. But if you get to that page that we talked about earlier for the AI marketplace, then you have an opportunity to come in and join us for free. We have an opportunity to come in and join us as one of the founding members. And just imagine what that might do for your authority or credibility over the next 10 to 20 years, having got in the door for that and being on our Mount Rushmore. Again, I think we have like 5 or 6 members right now, and we don't want the masses to come yet, Anthony. We're not ready for that. We know that our hospital, if you will, or our academy, it needs doctors. It needs professors. We need the leaders there to be able to help sustain the rest of the people who might come in. So if you feel like you want to be part of that leadership process, come and join us.
Yeah. Thank you for that, sharing that. Those links will be put onto the show notes, but also you'll get a dedicated page with all the information on there. There'll be an article. There'll be the videos. There'll be a practical guide that people can download from this episode and be able to start applying what we've talked about in your life or in your journey right straight after. Because, the idea is that you listen to this episode, you read the article, and then you start taking action straight away in your journey.
Yeah. We'll put some YouTube ads into that too on our side.
So, 100%. So you see, when Jackson will send me through all the links and we'll put all those in there. And like yourself, I've also launched an academy called the Champion Academy, where I'm going to be doing a whole lot of masterclasses, webinars, lessons, courses. And Jackson, I'd like to have you back as well to do some webinars and lives and masterclasses as well. So yeah.
We'd love to.
Now we are at the quickfire questions. So you've got 6 questions where you can answer these in a short sentence or a single word. And the first question for you is, how do you define success, and has that definition evolved for you over time?
Love.
Mm-hmm.
Or am I becoming love?
Yeah. Who's been your greatest inspiration and why?
Jesus. He's my savior.
What is something that you believe that others may disagree with?
True love involves healthy conflict.
Yeah. If you could go back and give young Jackson some advice, what would it be?
Be your best. Stop worrying about being better than others. Be your best. Be your true best self. You deserve it.
Yeah. What is one message that you'd like to share with the world?
There's a talk on honeybees by M. Russell Ballard, and he talks about how even the smallest acts of kindness have an eternal ripple effect for good, and that we underestimate the value of the good things we do on a daily basis and underappreciate how great we truly are. I wish everybody in the world would embrace their greatness.
Yeah, 100%. And the last question for you is what does it mean to you to be a champion and have a champion mindset?
Doing your best. So I'll go back to that again. Being willing to be your best, accept others, as their best. And you have to be willing to recognize when you're in yourself, when you're not willing to be that. And my hope for all, the remedy for that's simple. And that is, once again, love applied to self.
Mm,
Forgiveness is not something that is based on time and time
mm.
constraints. Time is a figment of our imagination. Thank you, Albert Einstein. So if I do something wrong, rather than saying I'll do better tomorrow, why not right now? Why not just flip the script right now and say,
Right
I'm going to
now.
forgive myself instantly. I'm going to move forward instantly. I'm going to be better now.
We've only ever got the present moment. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So you've got to take action right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. Now, Jackson, I want to ask you, what is your favorite mindset quote? The reason I ask this is because every quote that I collect is going to be on the website. In the hero section, there's a carousel of quotes that slide across, and your quote will be added to that as well.
I'm going to give you an option. Okay. So there's my favorite quote, which is, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, which is Theodore Roosevelt's quote. My personal favorite quote that I've invented is, you can have your cake and you can eat it too. Thank you, LeBron James and Richard Branson. Oh, sorry. You can have a conveyor belt of cakes. You can have your cake and eat it too. You can have a conveyor belt of cakes. Thank you, LeBron James and Richard Branson. I think too many people assume they have to only do the one thing, thanks to Gary Keller. Love you, Gary, sorry. But, or that they're not meant to do big things, or that they should shut up and dribble like the reporter told LeBron. That dude has 100+ companies. And so if we step into abundance, we can have our cake, we can eat too, we can have a conveyor belt of cakes. Go get yours.
100%. We'll put both those quotes on the website.
Fun. Yes, double down.
Alrighty. Jackson, thank you so much for this conversation. I've really enjoyed it, and we're happy to have you back at any time as well.
Absolutely.
It's been incredibly insightful, truly a human connecting dots between building systems, leadership, and leaving a meaningful legacy. I think the biggest takeaway for me is that building intelligent systems is not just about technology, but it's about understanding people and solving problems and being patient and persistent. So thank you again. For the listeners, if you've been listening to this and you've loved this conversation, please subscribe, share it with someone that might benefit from this episode, from this as well. And check out the show notes and also the episode page for all the resources and all the information. Until next time, keep building a champion mindset. If you're in the AI space and you're looking for some clarity in your business, then come and connect with me. There is a link in the show notes for AI Workflows Agency Clarity Assessment, where we build the foundation first, which is helping you understand your mindset and getting clear on where the bottlenecks are, where you as a business owner may be the bottleneck as well. And so once we go through 6 areas of your business and give you a recommendation on the next steps. So sign up to that and let's have a chat. And thank you for being on the Champion Mindset Collective. Lastly, I just want to say you are loved, you are worthy, champion your life, champion your greatness, and have an amazing day.